Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Memory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you the czar's starting lineup for week 4 in this NFL season. We're going to go through this list, and I'm going to add a new twist to it. I'm going to bring you the guys that I would start and the guys that I would sit this week for your fantasy team. So let's just jump right into the video and see who is my starting quarterback for week 4. I would start Tom Brady versus the Oakland Raiders defense. They are a very undisciplined group, so look for Tom Brady to dink and dunk these guys to death with a short passing game and rack up a lot of yards. I will start Maurice JonesDrew against the New Orleans Saints defense. When you're starting a rookie quarterback, the best help is the running game, so the Jags will lean on Drew a lot in this ball game. The Raiders will stick to the script and try to run the Patriots into submission, so look for Darren McFadden to have a huge day versus the New England Patriots defense. Andre Johnson is a man-child and should have a huge day against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who gave up a bunch of yards to the Colts wide receivers, and we know Matt Schaub has one target and he locks onto it. The good thing about Johnson, he catches every pass thrown his way. Now, the same thing can be said about the Colts defense, giving up a lot of yards to Mike Wallace last week. Look for Mike Williams of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to have an outstanding day, tearing up that cover 2, and they're going to move him around the football field a lot, so look for him to get a lot of targets and a lot of catches. Greg Jennings is another guy that I think is going to have a huge day versus the Broncos secondary. They do a great job in Green Bay of spreading teams out, and look for him to operate in the middle of the field. I think the Bills are vulnerable in the middle of the field, so look for tight end Jermaine Gresham to work his magic in the middle of that Bills defense and help out Andy Dalton in that passing game. No one's talking about the Bengals defense being solid. I like the Bengals defense this year. 2 outstanding corners in Nate Clements and Leon Hall, but the defensive line causes a lot of pressure, and I think that will frustrate the Buffalo Bills quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick and lead to a lot of sacks and a couple of turnovers. I'm starting Adam Vinatieri for the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Colts can move the football against the Chargers. I think they're going to struggle trying to get touchdowns, so look for them to settle for a lot of field goals. Now, which players you should sit this week in fantasy football? Sit Ryan Fitzpatrick versus the Bengals. Like I mentioned before, the Bengals defense is very underrated, very stout at the point of attack, and they have an outstanding secondary, and the safeties. So I look for them to shut down Fitzpatrick in that passing game this week. I will sit LeGarrette Blount this week versus the Colts. The linebackers of the Indianapolis Colts did an outstanding job last week stopping the run of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're going to do the same against the Bucs, although the Bucs can have some success throwing the football against that cover 2. Speaking of the cover 2 defense, I think Steve Smith, you should sit him this week, not because he won't have a solid day, but the tight ends of the Panthers should have a huge day against that cover 2 defense attacking the middle of the field. I would sit Mercedes Lewis versus the Saints. I know I always say the Saints struggle in covering tight ends, but when they're starting a rookie quarterback back there in Jacksonville, he won't have the time in the pocket to look downfield. Look for Mercedes Lewis to have a quiet day. I would sit the 49ers defense this week against the Philadelphia Eagles. Anytime Michael Vick is back there in the pocket, you have to worry about him scrambling, and he also opens up the running game for LaShawn McCoy and has the ability to hit those deep passes down the field. I'm also sitting the Broncos defense versus the Packers for reasons I mentioned before. They're just going to spread the Broncos out and make those outstanding linebackers of the Broncos useless in the passing game. So I look for the Packers to have a field day throwing the football. For more fantasy football coverage, visit footballgameplan.com/fantasy or visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com/footballgameplan. And listen to the Football Game Plan radio show, which airs Saturdays 11 a.m. Eastern Time at blogtalkradio.com/footballgameplan.